who are you?
I'm Poppin Fresh, the Pillsbury Doughboy. May I have this dance? A house smells so nice when you bake in the oven. Nothing says lovin' like something from the oven, and Pillsbury says it best.
So today is Thanksgiving in the US, and I thought long and hard about what I should make a video about to line up with the holiday, and I couldn't really think of anything that would fit. But then the thought occurred to me, what do you do during Thanksgiving? Well, you eat. And what is something one may eat? Bread. And what do you use to make bread? Dough. And who is a dough-related mascot? The Pillsbury Doughboy. Oh, I'm such a genius. So yeah, in today's video, I will be discussing the history of the Pillsbury Doughboy. But before we get into that, it would be greatly appreciated if you would leave a like, subscription, and maybe even a comment. Now, before we discuss the Pillsbury Doughboy, I first want to give some backstory on the Pillsbury Company itself, which was founded in 1869 by Charles Alfred Pillsbury. Such a powerful name. Anyways, in 1869, Charles Pillsbury purchased 1/3 of a local flour mill in Minneapolis for $10,000. He then studied the methods that were being used for flour milling and began planning on how he could improve on the methods that were being used at the time. And that is exactly what he did. He continued to grow his business, and in 1872, he reorganized the company as C.A. Pillsbury and Company. Then in the years going forward, Charles Pillsbury began building more mills and expanding his flour empire. And one of those mills was actually the largest flour mill at the time, at least. Some of the mills did, burned down, but that doesn't matter. By 1889, the mills were producing 10,000 barrels of flour a day. Also in the same year, Charles Pillsbury sold the mills to an English financial syndicate. He did keep a leadership role though, even after selling the mills. And under his leadership, the company became the largest milling company in the world. 10 years after this, in 1899, Charles Pillsbury would pass away, but this did not stop the company's growth, which has brought it to where it is today. So there was a brief look at the history behind the company and how it got its start. Now we can get into the history behind their mascot, the Pillsbury Doughboy, whose real name is Poppin Fresh. Yeah, his name is not the Pillsbury Doughboy. Well, I mean, it is his name, but it's not like his actual name. Best way I can describe it is his full legal name is Poppin Fresh, and like Pillsbury Doughboy is his title. The Poppin in the Poppin Fresh name was a reference to him like literally popping out of this little dough container. And the Fresh in his name was a reference to the freshness of Pillsbury products. But enough about his name. How was this little creature created? Well, in 1965, Rudy Perz, who at the time was working for the Leo Burnett advertising agency, came up with the concept for the Pillsbury Doughboy while in his kitchen using some Pillsbury dough. The main concept was of like a little character popping out of a tube of Pillsbury dough. Perz brought the concept to the advertising agency that he worked for, who liked the idea. Then they brought it to Pillsbury, who also liked it. Perz even made a drawing of the character that he was envisioning. Perz believed that this design for the Doughboy was too similar to Casper the Ghost. And, call me crazy, but I don't really see the resemblance. Also, I have made a video on Casper before, so you should definitely go check that out. After this video, of course. Since Perz thought that this design was too similar to Casper, he brought the idea to Disney animator Milt Schaefer, who refined the design into what we know it as today. And in this same year of 1965, the Pillsbury Doughboy, aka Poppin Fresh, made his first appearance in a television commercial.
And who are you?
I'm Poppin Fresh, the Pillsbury Doughboy. May I have this dance? A house smells so nice when you bake in the oven. You bake something warm and fresh in the oven. Nothing says lovin' like something from the oven, and Pillsbury says it best.
In this first appearance, Poppin Fresh was voiced by Paul Frees, and the voice heard in this first appearance is pretty different to the one that he has nowadays. Now design-wise, this first iteration of the Doughboy is like almost exactly the same as his modern version. Very little changed. The only noticeable difference I can see is in this first appearance his body is more of like a dough color, but nowadays it's pretty much pure white. This first commercial also introduced the gimmick of the Doughboy getting poked in the stomach and letting out a little laugh at it. In the early commercials, the Doughboy was brought to life with the use of stop-motion animation, and the little doll/puppet of the Doughboy cost $120,000 to make. Now this high price also included 5 other Doughboy bodies and around 15 heads. Some people may say that it cost a lot of dough to make the figure, but Pillsbury got their money's worth, I would say, and within just a few years, the Pillsbury Doughboy was a household name, and Pillsbury eventually began to release Poppin Fresh merchandise, and there was a wide variety of items that could be purchased.
Want to get these great Pillsbury things? Get the Doughboy store catalog first. Call now to see how.
I like how he says things. He doesn't know what's being sold, just a bunch of random Doughboy items. In the early 70s, Pillsbury expanded on the Doughboy lore by giving Poppin Fresh some family members, the first of which being Poppie Fresh, who was the wife to Poppin Fresh, and was created by Carol Williams. Poppie was made with the intent to promote Pillsbury's dessert items, while her husband was promoting the other dough items. Oh, and you know how Poppin Fresh gets poked in the stomach in the commercials? There was a very specific rule that stated Poppie was not allowed to be poked in the stomach. Since Carol Williams, remember the creator of Poppie Fresh, did not like the idea of a tiny female character being poked non-consensually by a large masculine hand. Poppie was not the only other family member, though. The Doughboy also had 2 children named Popper and Bun-Bun. He also had grandparents named Grandmommer and Grandpopper, a dog named Flapjack, a cat named Biscuit, and he also had an uncle named Rollie, whose only noteworthy attribute was driving a blue car. With a family like that, Poppin Fresh should not be called the Pillsbury Doughboy, he's the Pillsbury Doughman. Alongside Poppin Fresh, the family could also be purchased in merchandise form. Now in the following years, the Doughboy's family would eventually be phased out. But in the 90s, the Doughboy's mom was in like one advertisement, and only her arm was shown. So is she part of the official family? Maybe. It was also in the 90s when the Doughboy stopped appearing as a stop-motion character and transitioned to a CG animated character. And that was like the last time anything about Poppin Fresh was changed. You know, out of all the mascots I've discussed on my channel, out of the ones that are still being used today, I think he changed the least out of all of them. Going as far back as the original drawing of the Doughboy, the only major difference is like, he's not wearing a scarf. Obviously he looks a bit different, since this was just concept art, but the main idea was kept the same. Well, anyways, I think that's enough rambling about the lack of design changes for the Pillsbury Doughboy, and instead, time to end the video. But if you did enjoy this video, a subscription, a like, and maybe even a comment would be greatly appreciated. And with that, I'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Nothing says lovin' like something from the oven, and Pillsbury says it best.